There are many different ways to buy Bitcoin, but the cheapest and fastest way to buy Bitcoin with cash is with a CoinFlip Bitcoin ATM. CoinFlip ATMs allow anyone to buy Bitcoin with the lowest fees and within just a few steps. Hi, I'm Amy, and I'm one of the hundreds of store owners who partner with CoinFlip. In this convenient store, we host a CoinFlip Bitcoin ATM. We earn passive income, more foot traffic, and we get free advertising done by the CoinFlip team. Getting the ATM was easy. We just contact the CoinFlip team at info@coinflip.tech, and they handle everything with no cost to the store owner. This includes installation, maintenance, marketing, and even 24/7 customer service. We just provide a small space within the store. To get your own CoinFlip Bitcoin ATM and join the monetary revolution, contact CoinFlip today. info@coinflip.tech or fill out the form at request.coinflip.tech. 773-800-0106.
Whether you're brand new to cryptocurrency or an expert, Hodlit is the app for you. Are you tired of dealing with the exchanges, their unreliability, and high fees? Welcome to the new cryptocurrency standard. Hodlit is your one-stop shop for accumulating cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin. This is the easiest way for you to accumulate crypto and manage it. Download the Hodlit app now. Create your profile, link one or more bank accounts, set up your dashboard, and let Hodlit do the rest. It's easy and fast. Hodlit provides multiple ways to purchase and accumulate crypto. Included are advanced automated buying features along with direct market buys. You have total control of your money and which cryptocurrencies get purchased, with options including Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Tether, Ripple, among others. Use the Roundup feature to automatically purchase crypto with your spare change after making everyday purchases. Easily increase your Roundup growth by using the Boost Growth option and boost your Roundups by either 2, 3, or 5 times. The Autopilot feature allows you to purchase crypto based on the amount and frequency you choose. Set it and forget it. Buy and sell in real time. The coins you buy are the coins you get. Hodlit holds 100% true blockchain purchases. No downtime. Super secure. Lower fees, and you get 24/7 support. Hodlit makes it easy for you to create and manage a diversified cryptocurrency portfolio. Look forward to future enhancements coming soon, as well as additional cryptocurrency options. Download the Hodlit app today and get started now.
All right, bro, we're live.
Hey, that's
Hey.
awesome. Good to be here, Ken. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for taking the time to come on today and hold my hand through the land that is Splinterlands with the land sale. Every time I see you guys post information about the Splinterlands land sale, it is very in depth, very informative, but it's also like usually over 10 minutes worth of like reading. And so I'm like, I'm just gonna get Aggie to come on and he's gonna read it out loud to me for an hour.
Yeah, so the ASMR of like reading the Satoshi white paper.
Oh, don't tease me because you know I would tune into that.
So so generally speaking, we are a trading card game, right? And in a trading card game, you collect cards and you typically battle with them, and that's standard. Okay, so now we are a blockchain-based trading card game. That's what Splinterlands is. And so you collect cards, you can trade these cards because they're all NFTs and they're all tradable. And then the last piece is that you can start earning with them. And you earn with them every time that you win a match, you can earn. There's daily quests you can earn, there's seasons you can earn, and then there's like tournament prizes where you can earn. So there's a lot of earning.
What are they earning? Because I already know, but fill in the blank, I guess, for those who may not.
A lot of what you're earning are in-game cards or dark energy crystals, which is our own cryptocurrency. So a lot of like the tournament prizes are in dark energy crystals, and a lot of the like if you win a match, it's usually paid in dark energy crystals. But your daily quests and your season rewards are typically new cards that you get to add to your collection or sell back on the market.
Or if you have amazing luck like me, you hit that 1% chance and get a booster pack or something, and
yeah,
I get so lucky with that.
Booster packs, then there's gold foil cards, and the gold foil cards are rarer, so players value them more heavily. So that's kind of like the basics. And in the basic fighting system, it's a blind draft. So you and I both get the same set of rules. I know I'm going to be fighting you. You know you'll be fighting me. And there's like a whole bunch of individual rules, like what's the mana cap that match? And are there special rules like monsters get extra armor or something? What teams are allowed? And that we know that up front, and then we have to blind pick our teams. And a team is comprised of one summoner and a handful of monsters. And the summoner gives buffs to all the monsters, and the monsters do the actual fighting. And the team with the last monster standing wins. And so the whole thing is like a 3-minute long experience. Like it's a pretty fast turnaround.
Right. It's not like a 20-minute card game like most I guess like Magic or like Pokemon kind of trading card game, battle game styles are very long based format.
Yeah, we didn't really want to compete with them heads on. So we wanted something that was really familiar. Any trading card fanatic that played Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Transformers, or whatever, they would see this and be like, oh, that's a trading card game. And then like 2 minutes later, they'd be like, oh, look at all these things that are so different and weird about it. So like it's familiar enough so that they inherently very quickly grasp what it is. And it's different enough that you're like, oh, this is actually substantially different than all the other ones that I've played, which is exactly where we want this game to be. Familiar but different. And okay, so in the fight you have your summoners and monsters, but all of that up until that point has been blind because I'm making my best guess. But then after that, what we want to do, that's how the matches work now. And what we want to do is we want to add a second layer of combat, and that combat should have items and spells in it. So normally right now I pick my team, you pick your team, and then I hit rumble and the guys start fighting and it's automated from there. What we want to do is between the end and the actual fighting, we want to add one more step. And that's where both you and I can look. And now it's not blind. I see what you did, you see what I did. And now there's a second round where I can apply either items to my monsters or spells to kind of the entire effect of the war or the battle.
So sort of like a secondary offensive ability.
But like a whole second round of combat. Like right now, round one is summoners and monsters. Take a pause, look at what everybody did, and then a second round of items and spells.
So this is still going to be kind of like set it and then it plays out as it does. It's not very active during the gameplay.
No, it's still gonna. I mean, part of that is because we're built on a blockchain, and like doing every single move gets pretty tedious
Yeah.
when you're on the chain. So we really
It's
packed
funny
all the
that you said
strategy.
tedious and not expensive. Depending on which blockchain, and you know which one I'm talking about,
Yeah,
you would
yeah,
have had a completely different statement for that.
yeah. That's true. I mean, it's possible to do this stuff here, but like, I don't know.
Is it too much? Right?
It's
Is it spam? Is it unnecessary? And I feel like that's what a lot of Splinterlands has kind of ironed out for setting like a standard for trading card game blockchain, which is you don't have to overcomplicate or over, I guess immerse the player. Like I don't need to do too much. I don't have to sit here for a half hour dragging things around just to play a game. I think that what you guys have done with Splinterlands, and this is why I like it personally a lot, is it doesn't have to take up a lot of my own RAM. You know what I mean, to play the game. I can watch a YouTube video, kind of write an article, and pop back and forth from like a Splinterlands game and have a good time doing that, as opposed to be like, all right, I can't do anything for the next half hour because I want to play one game.
So a lot of our guys will actually play matches in between matches of these other trading card games.
I've seen
That's
that.
it's super common. Um, but have you ever played Settlers of Catan? Do you know that game?
I have not.
My example is from that. It's a pretty popular game, so I'm going to go out on a limb and explain it anyways. But like, you get all these resources, and then you get decisions of building things. And it's a turn-based game, and each person goes in sequential order around the table. And every now and then you get that one player that's fairly new, and they're staring at one sheep. And you know that there's absolutely nothing in the game that they could do with that one sheep, but they're sitting there staring at it, trying to figure out what the rest of their turn should be. And like all the experienced players are looking at them, and they're their friend, so they try to be patient, but they recognize that the friend is just wasting everybody's time. So it's like, dude, you have one sheep. There's nothing you can do. Pass the dice. Let's go. And that's a lot of what I think trading card time is, where you're kind of ogling your cards and excited or reading through them, but you're really wasting the other person's time because you probably don't have an action right that second. And so like it is fun, and there's tactics, and that can be enjoyable and cool, but one of my complaints about trading card games is just like how much time you have to waste waiting for an opponent.
I like that you went with like the honorable way to kind of kill time by like a friend not knowing what they're. I know that there is malicious trolling filibusters out there. I've played against those people who will sit there for like 4 minutes reading every detail of every card that they just pulled out of their deck just to be a jerk and filibuster the time. So I get frustrated and I just go real quick on the next turn just because I want the game to go faster.
Yeah. Yeah. So some of that stuff is just not fun.
Right.
So the other thing that we didn't like is like both my partner is Matt, and both Matt and I got pretty high up in playing Hearthstone. And after a while, it finally connected with me that entire game is really about just having one ability set pop at one perfect example time, and whoever did that first wins. And once I realized that it was all about that, the game stopped being fun. And then it also helped explain more to me why there's only like 5 decks that are ever really played in the meta of that game. So a new season comes out and everybody's fighting, and it takes a week or two. But eventually there's about 5 or 6 decks that everybody knows that's what you have to play if you want to advance. And that stopped being fun too, because now it's just much more of a grind, and you're just sitting there.
Right, it's just
like,
meta versus meta, and it just comes down to like a luck of the draw at some of the
right.
rounds.
It's did my thing pop when it was supposed to, or it one turn before theirs did, and that just stopped being fun to me. Like, don't get me wrong, the game is really cool and it's really creative and blah blah blah. We stand on the shoulders of giants, and we wouldn't be here without Hearthstone.
Well, that's like
So-
sort of the fine line a lot of these games are walking right now, is between like the skill-based victories or the chance-based victories. And even in games where they're supposed to be skill-based, it just feels like it's chance sometimes. Like, again, it's just meta versus meta.
Yeah, well, this is part of why every single match in Splinterlands changes, right? Every single rule is different. So when you're battling, there actually, when people are deciding what card should I get, and they people ask this kind of stuff all the time in our Discord, and people are they're new to the game and figuring it out. There is never one card where they say you have to own this or you'll lose. And that to me is just awesome. That is exactly what we've been trying to build. Of you need a broad set of diverse cards that are good in lots of circumstances. Like, oh, if you have this card in that situation against that opponent, you win every time. But like,
yeah, the what is that? The blue-eyed three-headed white dragon from Yu-Gi-Oh! It's like every time he whips that shit out, it's like, all right, well, there goes the suspense of the situation. I guess we all know what's going to happen here.
Right, and that stops being fun, and that's where you really get into like, did you pay more than your opponent to be here? And that also stops being fun.
Right.
So
well, that's the one thing you have nailed. I'll say that straight up. You can't pay to win with Splinterlands. You could pay to have more fun if you want to buy a bunch of cards, but it won't guarantee that you'll be the best every time you run into somebody, because the way that the ranking system works, it kind of nerfs a lot of the cards that would be OP in that league. So I mean that structure model would be detrimental to a lot of trading card games that you have found a way to still be successful with.
Well, we wanted it to work for people with lots of different budgets. There are people that want to spend $50,000, and there are collections that are worth 50 grand. There are players that
and they're on the blockchain, and you can verify that they're active players that hold accounts with those cards in them for sure.
Yeah. So, and we want to allow that. I mean, as a business, we need that to function. But we also want some brand new player that's like 14 years old in Venezuela being like, oh, I want to try this, and have a spot for them too. And so our game is a mix of proof of stake, proof of skill, and proof of time.
Ooh.
And so if you have the absolute best deck, but never play and have no idea what you're doing, you're not going to make any money doing this. And you can be the most skillful player of card games in the world, but if you only have level 1 cards, you're not going to make very much doing this. And you can be the best player with the best set of cards in the world, but if you don't bother to actually play, you won't make any money doing this. So it's really those 3 factors coming into this simultaneously. And so I think we've done a good job of designing kind of how all of that plays together. It took us a couple of years to really settle into an economic and rule sets and balances and checks and the real gamification process of this, but we're finally there. And all of this, I want to get back to this land piece, because the lands are happening now, the land sale. So we wanted to add these items and spells as the next kind of round of combat, but in order to actually get them, Matt and I were left with this question of, are we just going to sell them in packs, or is there something cooler that we could do? And we came up with the idea of, we want the players to be the ones that mint these cards. We're still going to mint the summoners and the monsters because we have to have something to sell and run a business, but we want the players to mint the item and spell cards. Now, I think that's really revolutionary, because I've been playing trading card games for 3 decades now, and none of them ever said to me, hey, dude, we're really tired of printing all these cards and making all this money. Why don't you do that instead of us? But that's what we're doing with our players. There are maybe some examples where they allow players to mint stuff, but it's always in games where like that's not how they make money.
Right, right. It's
like
a centralized
money, and now they let you do this thing. Right. This is a place where we're really saying, the way that we've made money as a business for the last 2 years and become the #1 trading card game in the world on a blockchain, well, we're going to give that power to you. And I think that's pretty revolutionary. And the way that happens is that the players will buy land, and then there's a whole game around it. It's like a crafting game. You can mine resources, harvest them, refine them, and you'll use
So
them.
land is a mini game outside of the battling altogether as well.
Yeah, it really is. We think of it like an expansion to the game. That's
Oh,
like
DLC for Splinterlands.
Yeah, so it's got its own. We kind of think of this as premium content.
Right. Do you
Like
see this being like a sole version of this? When I say that, I mean like a dense population of the players, or even new ones coming in specifically for the land engagement, and not maybe not to play the game by battling, but their role in the Splinterlands universe will be of like Splinterland realtors.
Yep. Yeah, I do, and I might even be one of them. I mean, I like our battle system, but I love like empire building games. I played Clash of Clans for like 5 years. Like that game is amazing. I stopped playing when I found blockchain, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to stop wasting my time here because every minute spent could have been in crypto where you can earn something. Um, but now, if I can combine kind of games like that, these amazing, empire building experiences where you tell yourself, all right, just one more turn or one more battle, and you're just going to keep building this thing out. If you can combine that with it actually having value, then it's not wasted time. It's not just entertainment, but you're actually like building something of value, like some wallet address that has more and more stuff in it as time goes on. And that to me is pretty critical for this, because otherwise, why are we a blockchain?
Right. You guys are pretty, revolutionary when it comes to innovating and, kind of doing things outside the expectation. I mean, what you guys do with your NFTs that nobody really highlights enough, in my opinion, is the leasing, right? Like you could get involved in Splinterlands and never have to do a battle a day in your life, but you could still earn Dark Energy Crystal. Just lease your cards out, and now you can get more involved outside of that by engaging with the land. And people may hear this and say, well, this is stupid, who would do this? But this happens already. I mean, RuneScape kind of got involved with Bitcoin, the players, because they wanted to tokenize the economy in that game. And we're seeing more games try to figure out how to get tokenomics involved. And I think this is just a natural progression for Splinterlands moving forward. I'm interested to see what where you see all this coming together and what could be next. Obviously, without like saying roadmap or guarantees, but like speculating, where do you see this kind of coming together and what could come of this, once this has been around for a while, like, a year from now, after land and all of this, what do you think could come out of it? What could be next?
Well, our overall company goal is to be the first game to really hit the mainstream. That's where, as a business, we want to go. And part of what we can do that other games can't is we can recycle these tokens that you've purchased and put them into different scenarios. So like in this first game, it's a battle game, right? I'm going to have my monsters fight your monsters, and it's this trading card experience. The second game, we're going to use those same monsters, but now you're going to need them as part of the work for your land. So there's probably still some sort of battle element that's not quite the same. It's probably more computer generated or game generated than PvP battles. But now you're going to use them for some land process. Well, we're not entirely certain what that looks like. We're very upfront that this whole land thing is the land still is like a Kickstarter where we're accepting funds to be able to develop this whole thing out. But the idea is basically that you'll go fight some kind of farm generated thing to harvest the farm, and you will fight some craft generated thing when you want to craft, and the victory conditions might be different or whatever, but you're still using monsters and summoners and the cards that you've collected over all this time to go actually harvest this new type of thing. All right, so now we go to like 2021. We've built our land sale. The like castles and keeps have turned people into mini warlords or systems or whatever.
Yeah, I'm planning on trying to be a monarch of Splinterlands myself.
Nice. Yeah, when people buy a region, there are 10 tracks in a region, and one of the tracks will have a castle, and 9 of the tracks will have a keep. And so those are probably the single most rare things in the land.
How many regions are there? Why is it rare? Is it scarce?
150 regions overall.
Oh shit! I could see that being rare. Yeah.
Yeah, there's 150,000 plots that we're putting into The island is called Praetoria, so there's 150,000 of these things, and that's all. We're not going to like expand Praetoria. This is kind of like the alpha edition of land. So there's some benefits to this. There's probably some cool stuff that we're not talking about that's going to be on this island that you can only find on this island. So we have a bunch of stuff in the works that we just can't be like.
Is there anything that you're looking at as like a catalyst to maybe have inspirations from, or maybe that were already inspirations towards what you're doing with the lands? Because I think it's interesting to see what like Sandbox is doing with like kind of like a land or real estate being done with Upland. I call it Llama Land, but Upland or whatever. There's because of the way blockchain works. Yeah, exactly. Because of the way blockchain works, though, we're starting to see a lot of these games get involved with this virtual real estate concept. But there's really no gamification outside of just that. It's less appealing to me, particularly because of that, but it just sounds like you guys are just adding more gamification to the game that you already have, and the goal is to keep gamifying the game with more mini games. It's just I'm really blown away by like the amount of different things that I can already do with Splinterlands, and then imagine adding in what you're going to be doing with the lands. It does kind of get to sound like it could be overwhelming, where people may feel like this could start to take up more time than just those couple seconds of building a team. Do you worry a little bit about changing the format of the game structure from maybe it being a 10-minute game that people just browse on, or being something that people spend hours on?
Because we're going to go back to renting, right? Like so in a normal trading card game like Pokemon, I can't rent you one of my cards, because I have so little faith you'll give it back, or you'll give it back in an unmutilated condition. And so
or give you back the same card you gave me.
or not just give me like a counterfeit of it.
Right.
I mean, so all of those things are just so nerve-wracking that I don't really know of rental like industries for those games. But with blockchain, you just sign a transaction, and now I still own it in my account, but it's usable by you in your account. And the same thing will be available for land. Exactly all the details of that haven't been worked out, but we still want people to be able to own land that they have no intention of being the primary on. They want to be able to go get some passive income off of this, and whether that's dark energy crystals, or maybe that's Sparkstone, one of like the red resource, or Ulana seeds, the green resource. You'll be able to earn these things, but not necessarily have to be the one doing it. And that to me is a major part of this. If we want young people that might not have any money in here playing and having fun all the time, and we might want some people that are older that have no time but have a lot of money to be able to own a digital asset that's scarce, not have it like take up floor space in their house, but just it lives digitally on wherever your keys are stored. That's where you can own this thing. Take it with you into whatever country you go in. There's a lot of advantages to owning something digital like this. So, I see, and then we also have what I consider the mega rich, who have so much money and so much time that they can literally just sit around and play Splinterlands all day and not care. So it's kind of it's all over the map of what level of like engagement you want with this, but. We're going to start with this.
Oh, it's choose your engagement.
Yeah, well, it really is. It's how much time do you want to put in?
There's a role for everybody, and I think that's what you are doing. I mean, if there isn't something that interests a gamer in Splinterlands, I believe eventually that game mechanic will be adopted. If it isn't there yet, it'll eventually be there.
So part of that is because I really wanted the ability. So I played World of Warcraft for a decade, and what I was thinking about when we were creating this was like, every single time that I walk into a city, there's like all these storekeepers, and they're all NPCs, and all those NPCs just like offer you these like same set of goods. And I was thinking of like, what if every single one of those was actually player operated? And so all of these different businesses that are part of the game, which they don't have to worry about being real businesses in Warcraft. It's just, you talk to the bread dealer, they give you bread. But what if that whole thing was like tokenized in a real economy, where somebody had to go harvest the grain, turn it into food, you bring it to like a city, the city's able to sell you the bread. Maybe there's warehouses where you can store this, and you need that bread if you want to go build the farm over there. And like all of these things start getting interconnected, and it all starts with you just owning some land. And that's what I was envisioning when trying to create this. And you're right that player that thinks like that isn't necessarily the same dude that's like, you know what, I'm going to go battle with these cards in a PvP match. But that's fine. I mean, what the economy should grow big enough that you have all these people that specialize. I'm here and I'm the number one storage unit in all of this region. And somebody else is like, great, I can go craft these items better than anybody else. I don't have any resources, so I got to go buy them. But once I get my resources, I can make these amazing magical items. And then somebody else is like, look, I don't do anything with the land expansion, but I'll buy all your items and spells so that I can win these tournaments and make all this money and all this stuff. I really believe in that. It's like the catchphrase of economics of do what you do best and trade for the rest. And, as long as people are participating some way in the Splinterlands ecosystem, there's not one thing you have to do. Hopefully you can find a variety of things that you can do that allow you to play anytime, trade anytime, and earn for what you're doing.
Yeah, I want to dig into how to get land, right? Because that is it changed on me overnight. I was sitting on my computer. I was like, all right, it's $10, 50% off. I just gotta wait a couple days, and then yesterday, out of nowhere, I hit refresh, and now there was a $7,500 way to get in, and my pockets felt lighter than normal. I never felt so broke in my life, but I was just like, damn it, the FOMO was so real. But I wanted to get into that a little bit and talk about the land sale.
So when we built this land sale, Matt and I always try to be conservative with what we think the players will do and what the community do, because you can't build your business and being like, we're going to do this and everything's going to moon all the time. So we try to be kind of conservative with what we're doing. So the way that worked is that we said, okay, here's roughly how much land we're going to make available. And some of that came from how much money do we need to develop this whole thing? How many months do we think that's going to take? How many developer hours is that? How many art resources is that? And then we sort of worked our way back from that to figure out how much land do we have to sell and how much can our players actually purchase and where's this money going to come from? So we put all that together, we crunched some numbers, and we said, all right, this is how much land we're doing. And we came up with 30,000 plots in 3 different pre-sales with 3 different discounts. So the guys that get in the earliest have literally the least amount of information possible. So we're giving them a 50% discount.
Higher risk, higher reward.
Yeah, exactly. We put that out, and the guys went freaking nuts for it.
Well, actually, I wouldn't even call it higher risk, higher reward. I would call it higher support, higher reward. Because, like you said, it's like a Kickstarter or like a GoFundMe. You are Patreoning your way through this. So I don't believe it like a high risk scenario. I think of it more as a high support. People that really want to support what you and Matt are doing. I think that's where it's coming from.
We exist to be a Trojan horse for crypto. Like we have this amazing fun game, and there's so much cool stuff going on, and it's awesome. But deep down, no matter what you're doing in this game, you are learning about crypto, becoming part of crypto. And especially for the normies that kind of come into this, it's come for a fun game, but stay for a life-changing crypto experience.
Right.
And a lot of guys that are passionate about crypto recognize that what we're doing is really geared towards bringing these new people into this ecosystem. And they get really supportive, like you're saying, and they become hardcore, passionate fans. And
that's because Splinterlands is the on-ramp. All these Bitcoin maximalists preach about where is the on-ramp or when on-ramp, and this, it's blockchain gaming. That's the on-ramp. It's not close your bank account and be your own bank. That's never going to be the catalyst for mass adoption. But it will be delete your Epic Games account and own your digital assets. Yeah. I think that will be more likely than not the catalyst. And what you guys are doing, obviously being the #1 blockchain game around, you have the momentum to be that on-ramp. And I think that's why a lot of the people in the space, when they see what you're doing with Splinterlands, they respect it, and they treat it as the on-ramp that it is. You know, it is a Trojan horse, and
Well,
people are seeing more and more of that. The only problem is a lot of the people in this space, bro, and I know you get this because you probably talk to them and they give you that jaded response because of how many people have mentioned blockchain games and things pump and dump and exit scam and rug pull, and how many things have existed to disappear, and yous have been around since the beginning and are still here through winters, and people are starting to recognize that it's a time issue. You know, the longer Splinterlands is around, I think inevitably the bigger it'll get. There's nowhere but up from here.
That's good to hear. That's what we like to think. We still have to plan as if we're in like a crypto nuclear winter forever. but the goal is
stay hungry.
the goal is to moon. I mean, we want everybody that's part of this project to feel like they're the things that they hold are worth value, that we are bringing more utility to the token than ever before. So because of that mentality, because of that support, there's just a crap ton of people that want our land. So we said, all right, to make this the most fair possible, what we're going to do is we're going to take our 30 plots and we're going to reserve 27 of them for regions, whole regions. And that means that we are specifically carving out 3 regions that like the whales can't really touch, that it's really meant for minnows, that we are carving those out specifically and saying 10% of this land, 10% of this land, bloody, is going to be for...
That's kind of how I heard it.
yeah, I know. It came out in my own mind that way too. But 10% of that land is for like the smaller accounts, because so
it's sort of like self-sovereign regions as opposed to statist regions.
Oh goodness! Well, I'm not going there, Ken. But
I knew after I talked to Rice, I would be like, I'm going to poke a political bear here.
Well, it's more
because I do want to get into that a little bit with the way that Lands is going and the way that you are creating a mechanism that can make I guess like I don't want to say customer, a player. You could make a player sort of like an employee to the ecosystem.
But they're hold on. I don't like the word employee.
Right. I don't know a better one for it. But
I want like an economic participant. I want them to be a small business owner within this whole ecosystem. You know, like I'm a grain farmer in Splinterlands. I would love nothing more than 5 years from now, somebody telling, like, just meeting somebody at a conference and being like, "What do you do for work?" And they're like, "I'm a full-time grain farmer."
This happens. It's not in Splinterlands, but people do play video games that aren't even blockchain related. It's centralized, uses no tokenomics, and they work 8 to 10 hours a day farming ore on a moon to sell to somebody. And the guy who owns the planet that people mine the ore on, he gets a tax from it. And it is an economy that already exists outside of tokenomics, and those people, I truly believe, will on-ramp into Splinterlands when they start to see the same way I see a lot of these other games getting involved with like first-person shooters where you can actually own the skins instead of Epic Games keeping my John Wick skin that I can't sell even though they go on eBay for like $3,000. It makes no sense. So I'm waiting to see those players get in, the people that already do digital commerce, that have those, I guess, gig economy, virtual gig economy. And I like that you said you didn't want to say employee. I get it. But it is also like, I work for Splinterlands, or I guess I work in Splinterlands. Right.
In and not for. We want tons of people to work in Splinterlands, but it should.
Yeah, I don't work for Bitcoin. I work with Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's in. These are all voluntary relationships. They're not employment agreements. They're just, do you want to participate in this economy? Buy some land, start producing some stuff, and you're in. There's like a financial barrier, but it's not like, we're here to keep you out or something.
Right.
Stake, put in some stake, become a landowner, and you have access to all of this.
Now, this is where I wanted to segue into the status part, right? Because as soon as I started seeing the land, though, I started to think bad actors. How can people game theory the land and the mini game that is being done to where maybe if I have enough money, I could just buy all 27 plots and just be like, guess what, guys? I ain't selling none of it. It's all getting burned. I burned the private key. Nobody owns the regions now.
Yeah, that's why we did this lottery. Like we're always trying to ride this balance of like, there's so many, the economy in this world is so freaking broken. right? You have 1% of the people that have like 90% of the wealth. So there's no way around that if we want to survive as a business, we have to somewhat cater to whales that are part of this ecosystem. But at the same time, it's people that make up the ecosystem, not just whales. By people, 99% of our player base are like different, unique, individual people. They're just not all millionaires. So we have to ride this weird balance of trying to figure out how do we make sure that there's space for the minnows to operate? How do we make sure that there's space for the whales to operate? How do we make sure that it's beneficial for both groups and that it's a mutually synergistic and positive experience rather than completely exploitative? Because that's bad and that's not fun. At the core of all of this, it has to be freaking fun. Otherwise, the whole damn thing will fail. So we got to make this a fun experience. And that's actually part of why I'm so excited for like the castles and the keeps are like, so in every region, there's 1,000 plots of land. And one of the plots will have a castle in it, and 9 of the plots will have keeps in them. And those are pretty rare resources. The full fleshed out version of them haven't been created, but I absolutely see those as avenues for like whale games to partake in, which can battle each other, can be really good for the whales competing against the whales. But for like, average human beings, it probably shouldn't impact their life too much. So that's kind of the goal of give a place for the whales to play whale games and give a place for all the players to play normal people games and have them kind of coexist and still be fun. So, as we're thinking through how do we do this land sale, we want it fair. We don't just want it to be who has the finest internet or who's able to take off of work for an hour and not have any consequences.
Privileged players.
Yeah, we want it to be, how do we make this fair? And so we could have just charged more money and said, all right, who's ever willing to pay the most will do this, but we didn't do that. We said instead, well, let's go do this lottery system. We'll carve out 10% for the minnows, and they'll have their 3 regions that will be parceled out in small amounts, which basically the whales are kind of going to ignore or really not even be able to participate in. And then we'll have these 27 plots, so the big chunks, those can go to the whales, and the minnows can group together too. They can form plots and pools and all form together to buy land. It's not like they're excluded. It's just, we wanted a set that was specific just for them. Doesn't mean that this other set of 27 is forbidden for them.
I was gonna say, when you say 27 like whales, that doesn't mean individuals. I see people grouping together and getting shards. A lot of guilds I've already seen talking, about pooling together as a guild to grab one of these regions of their own. So when Aggie's saying whales owning a region, I personally don't think many of them will be owned by one person. I think it will be a group of people with a self-governance handshake, less so than like a multi-sig thing. It's just going to be like a community-based effort.
This would be perfect. That's what we're shooting for. Is that we want. You were saying statist, and there is like some collectivist idea, but it's really about like the best lands. I think will be filled with the teams of people that are willing to communicate and collaborate the best, and that's. I don't same with everything else in the game. I don't want it to be just who spends the most, because that's a stupid game. That's not a fun game. But, we're still in crypto, and there still has to be a place for some of that. So it's like, who can come together to get the most resources and use them the best way to create the best environment and get people to continue to contribute towards common goals under voluntary circumstances the best. That will be the lands that advance the most, the fastest, which in turn should mean that they're the ones that can earn the most by participating in this. So anyways, we have 3 regions really just carved out specifically for minnows. We have 27 regions that are selling as regions. 17 of those have already been claimed. This thing has been live for like 24 hours.
I know. I saw 11 of them were gobbled up within like the first couple minutes. It was instant.
Yeah. We have a Uniswap liquidity pool.
I was going to get into that. Thank you.
Well, it's playing into this. I think a lot of our savviest players realize, there's not a huge advantage to pulling your money out just yet, because you have that Uniswap liquidity pool that you want to get the rewards from. So I think 3 days from now, which is one day before the actual lottery ends or like starts or whatever you want to call it, when the lottery rewards are handed out, like 2 to 4 hours before that is when I think the savviest players are going to come in and be like, I've taken my rewards out of Uniswap. I've given myself enough time to make sure that Ethereum transactions go through. I'm now putting that into this land lottery, and so I think we'll see well more than 30 lands total be attempted to be claimed in this lottery. And I'm just waiting 3 or 4 days for people to catch the very last bits of the Uniswap reward pool that they can get before they come in. So the fact that we're already at 17 and the Uniswap pool hasn't gone down at all, that tells me that there's still a lot of dark energy crystals left to come in, and there's going to be I'm extremely confident we are going to sell out of this first pre-sale, and that should be glorious and awesome.
Yeah, I didn't even mention the fact or what ifs of if the land doesn't sell out, what will you do with leftover land? Because I don't think there will be anything left over, honestly. But I guess for the sake of the conversation, right? What if 1 or 2 are left over at the end? Is there anything that the team plans on doing with leftover lands or regions?
Well, it's a Kickstarter. We still need this money for development. So if the pre-sale, if for some reason we only sell 27 total out of the 30, then the 3 will still be available. They'll just be part of the next pre-sale. So they'll move up. The discount will actually be less favorable to players, and it'll get more expensive, and then they'll be part of the next pre-sale.
What do they call that? Like a Dutch auction, right?
Yeah, something like that. Just if you want to, you snooze, you lose. If you want to just keep waiting to see how things go, prices are going to keep going up until we've sold out of all the pre-sale stuff, and then there's 50,000 plots that are part of the main sale. That's 50 regions. And again, think about how many people are in crypto, and think about how many people might want to be part of the biggest game. And then you say, there's only 150 of these things.
Right.
That's really not an absurd amount. So we think, even though that there's a lot, and there's probably more than what the current player base can really support at this level, but we've had 10,000 active users in the month of September, or 10,000 active accounts playing. So we're not totally that crazy for saying, 150 regions here. So I think we're going to sell out hard on the first one. I think we're likely to sell out on the second one. And I think that the enthusiasm was selling out of the first and the second, and a little bit new dark energy crystal entering the system because of tournament prizes. And
yeah, I was going to say tournaments are another way. I think a lot of people are going to earn their way into the land sales.
And some have, it's hard to earn that much, So it's usually some combination of buying cards, selling them, trading them, bringing in stuff. But
it's almost like $200,000 in tournament prize money given out. So some people have earned quite a bit playing Splinterlands.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I've seen somebody not too long ago posted an article on Hive about how they paid their rent with Splinterlands recently. So I don't know if that was like a month ago or 2 months ago. It was this year. It was a little while ago, but I did see it. I was just like, that's pretty badass to be like, honey, the rent's paid. Why? Yeah. Remember all the time you bitched at me playing video games? Yeah, it paid the rent this month. That is absolutely mind-boggling, but so true, because you could go and see the tournaments. Some of them are in the hundreds of dollars, and the first place is, it adds up.
Well, exactly. And those happen every week. There's it's $2,700 in tournament prizes every week. So, if you just keep participating, and if you have nice cars and you're winning battles and earning prizes and doing your season quests, and you win a tournament here or two, it's really not that uncommon that somebody starts this game and 3 weeks later they're like, hey, I got, 10 or $50. And then a couple months later, they're like, how did my account get up to $1,000?
I've had something like that happen with my referral link, because small influencer flex, but the referral system is pretty freaking sweet. If you wanted to let people know how they can get involved that way as well, by just letting their friends know the game exists, they could get they could earn as well.
Yeah, 5% of whatever your buddies spend for life is what you can earn as a referrer. So, there's an affiliate system. You don't need any approval from us. There's a link in the Discord for how to actually generate the link that goes to your account. And then if people sign up, you just start earning money whenever they spend money with the game. So that ends up being a nice little draw, especially for influencers that can go out there and say, come check out Splinterlands, and you got 30,000 fans, and they're like, maybe only a couple buy, but every time you do that, there's a couple more, and they spend, $100 here, $100 there. Each one of those is $5 for you.
Yep.
And it doesn't take too much of that for that to add up, because because it's for life, right? So like, what you did a year ago is additive to what you're doing now. And hopefully just as crypto heats up, and, my vision is something like, within the next 6 to 18 months, we're going to have some amazing bull run. This isn't financial advice. I'm just trying to ballpark what I see happening. There's going to be some giant bull run, and everybody that's around here is going to be millionaires, and they're going to be looking around and wondering, what the hell do I do with this money? Like, I know it's not going to last in this bull market forever. We've seen this a couple times before. It collapses at some point. So I got to do something with it. I want to have fun with it. I'd like to keep it in crypto, and I'd like to be able to earn with it. And if those are your criteria, Splinterlands is actually an amazing kind of place for that, because we're this fun game experience. We have tokenomics where you can earn, and there's provable scarcity.
Oh, I'm going to use a new word I learned recently.
Oh, hit me.
Cyclical.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a cyclical tokenomic economy.
Yeah. No, we do. So I think as these bull market cycles hit, because of the Bitcoin bull market cycle, there's going to be a lot of wealthy people that start asking themselves, what do I do with all this loot? And to me, like, a perfect place to kind of like off risk is have some fun, buy some cards, build out a collection. You guys are all gamers and nerds anyways. I mean, like, that's who the early adopters are. We're like, it's a 90% sausage fest around here.
Yeah, it is.
Gamers and devs, and that at some point, I think it'll mainstream more than that. But at least the current crowd is totally our audience. The game is welcome to everybody, but there's a lot of people with developer backgrounds, and if you look at a Magic the Gathering conference or a crypto conference or a Splinterlands conference, you would have a difficult time telling which one you're at, is all I'm saying.
Right.
It's the same kind of people in all of those.
I know I touched on the concept of jadedness, and I wanted to kind of full circle back to that and see what your thoughts are of, coming from, the first NFT utility project I've come across. I mean, granted, I guess CryptoKitties had utility, but
we stand on the shoulders of CryptoKitties.
Right, but I mean, you have the most utility for NFTs. Is it starting to frustrate you when you see that NFTs are kind of becoming a topic of conversation, like they just started to exist in the year 2020, and a lot of these pop-up NFTs with zero utility basically are just there's been some rug pulls even and pump and dumps involved with NFTs that are supposed to have utility and help make a game going forward, but like, things just happen, right? And they seem to get more attention, even if they do rug pull, than games like Splinterlands that have had success and haven't done things like that. I'm just curious, like, when you see these things pop up, and it's like, it has to rub you some kind of way, right? Like, why aren't more influencers talking about Splinterlands, but they'll pump and dump these NFTs that just popped up last week?
So I can't tell you why those decisions are made by those influencers. I'm not in their shoes. They're responsible for their own actions and their own communities. Oftentimes the number one question that we've gotten from potential investors and card buyers and like interviews are, hey, how come you guys built on Hive? And that's recently what we're getting. Like, it's nicer. Originally, it was very, very close to, why didn't you freaking idiots build on Ethereum like everybody else?
Okay.
And Ethereum is an amazing project, and I don't
hindsight in mind though, you guys are fucking geniuses.
Well, for raising money and capital pools and all of that, there's nothing better than Ethereum. But our entire game is played on chain, and that means that we're doing 500 to 600,000 transactions per day. And if there were fees on all of that, it would stop being fun, and it's an extraordinary amount of money. So we looked at that and had some insight that, that wasn't really a neither fun or sustainable model for a game.
Cough,
Don't get me
Gods
wrong,
Unchained. Cough.
There's other ways to build things, and you could just have your assets or something, but I still think you end up with a lot of problems in that, like, in Splinterlands, we've had days where we've literally had 20,000 NFTs sell in a day. And that means that we have done roughly twice as many NFT sales that day than all of Ethereum. And that's because we don't have transaction fees or like gas fees. There are market fees, but there's not gas fees. And so when those gas fees are like, $7, it means you can't sell a card that's worth a penny, because it makes no sense to move a penny card if you have to pay $7 on it. Yeah. So in Splinterlands, what's been amazing is that because there's no gas fees, you can really trade anything around here. And I think that's gone a long way to helping us build a community where, like, things are fun too. I mean, I can't underestimate just how important it is to be a fun game. And every time you click a button, there's a transaction cost to do that action. Like, that stops being fun. And I think Matt and I saw that. So I think that we could have raised more money on Ethereum because, Hive is still considered a bit of a backwater chain here. But I really don't think that there's any better place to put a layer 2 dApp than where we're at. I mean, maybe that'll change in the future or something, but, Hive has this whole blogging experience thing too, right? So, like, the way that we have grown as a company is really combining this layer 2 dApp with this community that already existed here. Because, Matt's built other games before. He's a really smart designer and a really smart developer. He's built games, and he's built them on his own, and they've gone nowhere. And it's not because the game sucks, it's because building a community is really hard. And ultimately, the success of a project initially is completely dependent on the development work, but sort of the later stage of the game is completely dependent on the community development of that network. And so where I think that we got off to such a strong start is combining, come buy a card, play in Splinterlands, earn something, write a blog about it. Writing that blog gets you more money, but also exposure to new audiences. Now you can live stream this thing, and all these different pieces come together. All these pieces come together, and you get some great exposure. And I think it's that kind of combination of having built the fun game, having nice economics, having the social model to spread it, having an existing community. All of those things together are what really allows for this project to have taken off and become the most played game in the space.
I think the social aspect makes it truly cyclical. I love that I know a new word now.
Yeah, cyclical.
But I think it does, though, right? The fact that you can go and play the game, and I say this on Twitter all the time, just play Splinterlands, post it on Hive, earn, you're done. I mean, like, what? Do that with any other game. I'll wait.
Yep. And then, so that is the cycle. That is the cycle. You buy some cards, you play a match, you earn for the match, you write the blog, you earn for the blog, you get a referral for the blog, so you earn when they're playing and when they're buying. And there's
you could even earn your way into the game. You technically don't even have to buy anything to start playing the game, because you could write an article on Hive about the game that you want to play, get some Hive token upvotes for talking about it. Next thing you know, you have enough Hive to go get a booster pack and you're in.
Well, that's kind of what we did with the Brave partnership that we announced of, like, they're running ads, and there's big referral payments that go back to Brave when new players are brought in. The bigger of the soapbox you have, the more money that you could earn by doing this. So yeah, I think we built something that it's a lot of fun, that is like really nearly infinitely replayable, and there's not one magic card. And we constantly think through, how do we add more value to what the players are doing? And I think that gets us to, cool ideas for land. And as more and more people experience this, and particularly as more and more groups experience challenges getting large user bases and active people on Ethereum. So again, there's going to be some high net worth actions like all the DeFi boom that I don't think Hive is really going to ever compete with. Mm-hmm. That's not what we're going to be good at. But if you need to do something that involves a lot of transactions, that is prohibitively expensive on Ethereum, and I just don't see that currently. Maybe with ETH layer 2 or with like
I think you're overthinking this, man. I mean, like seriously, to simplify it, the fact that I could play Splinterlands on my Brave browser and I don't have to go to a MetaMask wallet, go to Web 3.0 browser, log in with my private keys, sign a transaction, and I mean it's just so easy to get into Splinterlands as opposed to any other blockchain game right now. And I mean I get that you mentioned the Hive thing, but you guys are so chain agnostic, it's insane. Like I mean you get bottlenecked into like being, it's a Hive blockchain game. But I'm like, bro, you can log in with your MetaMask if you want. I mean, you can log in with Tron Wallet if you want. I mean, you guys are very like chain agnostic. You don't have that like, tribalistic, maximalist mentality. I'm just curious if you realize like that is a lot to beget to your success. You have multiple blockchain communities involved. It's not just, I mean, at first it was like mostly the Steam community, but as you created more ubiquitousness to other blockchains, it brought in more and more communities. And as you add more blockchains to the game, I believe it will keep continuing to do the same by bringing in those communities.
One of the VCs I spoke to said, you know what you guys got to do? You got to dominate the market. And I'm like, well, that's really weird. That's not really how I think about these things. But what would domination look like to me? And in crypto and in Web 3.0, domination really means integration. Mm-hmm. And it means that we are integrated into everything. You go to Sandbox, you can go play Splinterlands there. You go to Gala, here's a link to Splinterlands in Gala. You want to browse, go to Brave. Okay, that's funny. They're running ads for Splinterlands. And like, we want it so that no matter where you're going in this Web 3.0 experience, there's somebody that will point you back to Splinterlands. And by doing that, we also, we don't want that to be one way. We want it to be a two-way benefit where somebody could come to us and be like, we want to promote you. And we'll be like, great, we'll help pay you to do that. But not only that, we'll accept your token for value. So like the Electroneum community that we brought in, they've been fantastic. They're like this really enthusiastic, fun group of people. They spend a bunch of money, and what we're trying to do is give back to that project at the same time. So there's like referral links back to an account that's tied to Electroneum that we'll use to go host tournaments and other things to bring people back to Electroneum. So we try to have this thing be, like you said, cyclical. In that I like equivalent exchange. It's not just give me something. It's, to be better business partners, we both have to feel like we're getting the better end of the bargain. And I want it so that we are integrated everywhere, where our name is everywhere, where people know us, that, they do business with us, and that they know, ultimately what I'd love to see. And I think we're getting closer to this of like, I want to build marketing partnerships with like giant organizations where they're like, I want to own a region in Splinterlands, and now everybody can talk about Litecoinia and what the Litecoin community is doing in this one area. Here's the bosses that they
gamified guerrilla marketing. That's definitely coming 100%. And it already happened thanks to Splinterlands with your fucking tournaments. How many random companies, and they don't need your permission. They just come into the Splinterlands world and are like, wait, they have how many people playing this game? All right, bro, we're just going to throw a random shitcoin tournament on Splinterlands, and they do. So the guerrilla gamified marketing is already happening in the battle aspect. For it to take place in the regional land environment makes total sense. It's like a no-brainer to see a company go, well, we spend X amount of money marketing on fucking billboards on a highway. Why not have a billboard in Splinterlands? It makes sense.
Well, not only that, but you think about a sports organization and how much news they're able to generate. For like a business, it's hard to generate news. Like for us, it's development or something. It's hard, like to get to milestones that are newsworthy. It's pretty rough. But in
I thought the
sports,
liquidity pool uni thing was pretty newsworthy, but I don't. It didn't seem to tickle as many people's fancy as mine when I saw that I could stake some dark energy crystal.
it went out, and I think it was well received. I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of dollars. In there.
I mean, outside of like the main audience of Splinterlands, like I really would like to see more content creators or influencers in the crypto space. Not to like show praise, but at least be humble and show some like homage to what Splinterlands has done. And I don't know, man. It sucks
You're better
because
connected to them than I am.
well,
So,
you know what the truth is then? They want to get paid. That's it. And it sucks. I fucking hate that, I could DM one of my influencer friends and be like, yo, bro, check out what Splinterland. And they'll be like, oh, how much are they paying to talk about it? I'm like, do you not realize how cool this is? Why aren't you just talking about it? So I'm answering my own question so you don't have to piss off any influencers. That's why, unfortunately.
Yeah, sometimes it's been absurd how much this will cost. Like literally 4 to 10 times as much as traditional advertising.
Mm-hmm.
And we're growing, and we're honestly, we just had one of our best days of sales ever because of the land sale, and so things are going pretty well. I don't necessarily feel the need to go pay every single dime to every single person. We're just going to keep growing organically and keep creating new partnerships.
This is where I predict a second wave right there, because you're not artificially inflating your game. You're not out there giving fucking influencers thousands of dollars to fucking show your shit to people that are going to come in, buy a couple cards, forget about the game, and just hodl them or hoard them, and they're not in circulation. They're not going to. That isn't happening in Splinterlands. You just don't have fake volume. Never have. Never will. And that's where I believe the second wave's going to come in, is when those influencers I'm talking about, they can no longer ignore this information, where they can't, wait until they get paid to talk about it, because their community is eventually going to demand this sort of information. And if you're not giving it out, they're going to go to the content creators and influencers that are giving out the information.
Well, what I really want them to do, so like Ivan on Tech just mentioned us in one of his last things, in part because of Electroneum. But at some point, I want either these businesses or influencers to actually own a region and maybe rent out that or lease that out to their community members. So you own Ivan on Techonia, and now, part of the news that you're generating is what has your own community done in this own piece of map? Did they win a guild tournament? Did they kill a boss monster? Did they finally unlock a new item that they could craft? Every single one of those events becomes something that you could talk about for your community. So maybe that makes sense as an influencer, but certainly I think it makes sense for a business that's looking to go talk about how does their product or their service lend itself to community building or projects or some aspect of this, where you can then talk about, here's how our Litecoin gamers did, or here's how the AMD processor team did, or here's how the Dorito team did. But now you're talking about the team of people, your own community, and it doesn't have to be far off superstars in a different galaxy. Now it's just it's freaking Kenny Brozak. Brozak, how'd you win that tournament? It's you're talking about local people in a local community doing cool stuff. That's where I kind of see, when I start looking at how are we going to forge partnership with some of these bigger entities? That's really what I'm seeing, at least in game. But outside of the game, everything that we've built here is really about digitizing, tokenizing, and monetizing intellectual property. And in our case, that intellectual property is Jodin Zeku and Mimosa and Kiera Lightbringer, but those are characters in our universe that very few people have heard of. But the second that this becomes a little bit more mainstream, and we start talking to the Hasbros of the world, the Disneys of the world, the global sports organizations, now we're talking about digitizing, tokenizing, and monetizing Tom Brady or LeBron James, or now we're talking about Disney princesses. As these companies become more familiar and less scared or terrified of the blockchain space, the idea that they're going to want to tokenize their property so that they can sell it to their hordes of fans. Where are you going to look that can do that well and scale? And honestly, there's really not that many projects. And I think that we're one of the only ones that are positioned. So I think that this was an extremely long answer to get to like, why didn't you idiots build on Ethereum? Ethereum's amazing, and we stand on their shoulders, and we wouldn't be here without CryptoKitties. There's been a lot of very, very cool projects there, but some of the scaling issues I'm concerned about, some of the gas fees I'm concerned about, the fact that you have to own crypto before you can get into any of those crypto games, I think is also nerve-wracking. And so I think that Matt and I had to forego some of the earlier, easier access to money that would be on Ethereum.
Like an ICO.
Like an ICO, and do this with a long-term vision of, well, we don't want to run into any SEC security issues, so we're not going to actually even do an ICO. And we're not going to go build there because we want it to be free for the users so that they can have a positive experience. And we want it so that people that are outside of crypto can join us so we can actually mainstream. And so we put all those things together and we said, we're going to do everything we can to go integrate in Ethereum. So now you can pay in Ethereum. Now you can pay in ERC20s. You can sign in with MetaMask. We've done some of that to make it feel like a native app for somebody from the Ethereum community, because we're not tribalistic. We are blockchain and crypto enthusiasts, not,
and you even accept PayPal. For people that are watching that may not even realize that, you can also just use PayPal to get some cards. You don't even have to have crypto. It's just an option.
Yep. Yeah. We want this to be easy. We understand our role as the on-ramp into crypto. That's why we built this game. And it's not the on-ramp into Bitcoin. It's not the on-ramp onto Hive, the on-ramp onto Ethereum or anything else. It is the on-ramp into crypto. Because it doesn't, to some extent, it doesn't matter which of these things you are choosing. Some might be better for you than others. But when you are involving yourself, you are realizing, in my brain, people that do business together are less likely to kill one another. Right. So I like how this space, it encourages business relationships, which I think breed peace. I like that the whole reason that I found crypto is that I have very skeptical views of what the government is doing. And I've been posting that since 2012, and Facebook kept kicking me off. And so these centralized servers, back in 2012, people thought I was nuts when I said they deplatformed me on purpose. Now it's just like, oh, you got deplatformed too. Well, the blockchain is really good at maintaining and preserving freedom of speech because it's on all these different servers all over the world. It's hard to mute that if you're like a government with a physical location in one part of the world. There's just a lot of this stuff about blockchain that I think is so empowering and so wonderful and so peaceful and so immutable. And I think we can change this world without killing anybody. That to me is a major boost and a major goal of this project and system. And you might look at this as like, this is an on-ramp into crypto, which might hopefully be an on-ramp into Bitcoin or Ethereum or your baby project in particular. But for us, we are more agnostic than that, because when given the choice between either crypto or fiat of, peaceful, voluntary interaction on a blockchain of your choice or forced interaction through this legacy system, I'm going to choose this crypto thing, regardless of its format, all day long, every single day, and invite people to participate in that. And then hope that our audience is smart enough to kind of come to conclusions of what are good currencies to invest in and projects to spend their time in, and how do they avoid rug pulls and all of that. There's definitely some scammy stuff that's in crypto, but hopefully you're not going, spending way more than what you can afford and making smart decisions along the way. Because I'm not here being like, I make jokes of, sell your house and buy monsters, but in reality, it's, you have to, this isn't the kind of thing that if you're choosing between rent and eating and buying some cards, you should be paying rent and eating. Yeah. And buying cards should be like a very distant afterthought.
Dude, I've said this so many times. I've never bought single NFT to make money. It's never been a thought. I never said, ooh, I'm buying this NFT because it's going to make me money. My catalyst is utility. Oh, I'm buying this NFT because I can do X, Y, and Z with it. That's all. If I can do something with it other than stare at it in my MetaMask wallet because it's scarce and I need utility. So I think that, the fact that, again, you have the most utility NFT, and as people are coming into this space, seeing those NFT rug pulls, they're looking for those that already have utility, and you have what Bitcoin has, legacy. And nobody can take that away from you guys. It's the most powerful tool in the Splinterlands box is your legacy. And again, that's why Bitcoin is king. And to me, in my opinion, that's why Splinterlands is king. I have never bought a Splinterlands card saying, this is going to make me money. But damn it will I be if that hasn't happened so many times where I just bought a card because it was cute and now I'm like, oh shit, it's worth like $400. Didn't I only give them like $50 for this? And yeah, I've sold a few cards that literally pay bills and it's just, it's mind-boggling, but it is that thing where it's a byproduct. It's a side effect of tokenomics and what blockchain games can do. But I don't think anybody should ever go headfirst into it thinking, oh, this is a get-rich-quick model.
So one of the key things that we do is when you want to, the way that you earn in the game is that as you increase your rank, you can earn more. And the math works out roughly to, if you double your rank, you can quadruple your earnings. It's not exactly that, but it's pretty close. And so one of the easiest ways to go rank is to get more powerful cards. Well, how do you do that? You combine duplicates. Well, if people are constantly combining duplicates to get more powerful cards, what happens to the supply of those cards? And what happens to the supply of those cards is new people come in trying to go condense them into more powerful cards. We have a system that as new players come in, there are fewer and fewer and fewer cards that become available. And I think that's a powerful economic model. And they want to keep combining them because they want to be able to earn more. But it keeps becoming more and more challenging to do that with the older editions. Mm-hmm. So to give you an example, we sold out of the Alpha edition maybe 18 months ago. Maybe it's a little bit longer than that by now, but it's in that range. There were 300,000 packs. There's 5 cards in a pack, which means that there were 1.5 million cards total that were part of that Alpha edition. And currently, there are fewer than 300,000 Alpha cards remaining. So we have shrunk 80% of the cards.
I'm hodling the full Alpha collection set, bro. Keep burning, keep combining, keep making them scarce. And I know you, if you have to go, bro, let me know. I know we've been over the allotted time that I got from you today, so please just tell me to shut up so you can run if you need to. But I want to get into my own, and this isn't my own thoughts, but it's my own my own devil advocate conversation that I like to bring up, because it's not something I think, but it's something I think is out there. So it's not my thoughts, but it's a thought. The fact that something like this could become so scarce or too scarce that it actually discourages new players from entering. Seeing the fact that, imagine if you knew that there was 1,000 Charizard holographic cards in the Pokemon series, the booster set, and then that information was public on the ledger, and now that, all those Charizards are in circulating supply, so that if you buy a pack of Pokemon, you're guaranteed to not get a Charizard because that information is so readily available. Or you come into the game so late, people have burned or combined these cards to such a scarcity that there's just not enough to go around. Do you think that could be a potential turnoff? The fact that these things are so public with their data on a distributed ledger that I have too much information?
I don't think you can get too much information. And, there's going to be some favoring of some early accounts, but I don't think it's going to be forever. As accounts kind of buy and sell and trade and life happens and, you get married, you have a kid, you have divorce, you have house payments, you have, weddings to go to, trips to make, all this other stuff. Your cards come and go out of your collection. That's part of the joy of this game, is being able to sell them when you need money or when you're sick of the game. And I think over time, those concentrated accounts where you have a lot of like either the alpha cards or the beta cards or the current cards or the untamed, I think over time they'll just keep getting more and more spread out. And I think as that happens, you might have an advantage having one card from the alpha that's pretty good, but there's no one card that's so powerful in this game that you have to have it.
Not powerful, but scarce, right? There's some cards that are so scarce that they're not even in the double digits of circulating supply.
But we'll keep making more of those. So like there'll be lots of these cards where there might only be 10 or 15 of them or something. Which might be frustrating to some, but it also
right. I mean, I'm thinking as a full collector, right? Like there can only be like 5 people that have one of every card, because some cards there's only 5.
You're just not gonna. We're not gonna have that. Nobody's gonna have like a complete full collection.
Byzantine Kitty, I am calling it now.
I'm about as close as anybody's going to get. And
oh fuck! I didn't even think to ask you or Matt about that. Do you even have a full collection?
No, I don't.
That's hysterical, bro.
Yeah, I love these cards. I love collecting them. This is like,
that means you're gonna have to eventually buy some cards back from the market when you do want to complete the entire game set.
No, that's not my bag. Part of what
it's gonna be your bag when you want to give it to your kids or something, right?
Right. Well, but this goes back to that rental market of like, I'm a hardcore collector, but I'm not a hardcore. I don't love the fighting game part. Like I love the economics and the like trading card stuff. I pay people to go play with all the cards. But I really like renting them, and I like making these little teams out of them, and I like finding ways that like there's new economic use cases. So that part's really fun to me. I'm actually just so freaking excited for this land expansion because like I played Clash of Clans and Civilization for decades.
Fuck, dude, I don't even want to talk about how much money I gave Clash of Clans, and I get nothing to show for it.
Well, but imagine if you could play something similar or like in the spirit of Clash of Clans, but every time that you're doing something in it that adds value, you get to maintain that value.
That's 100% why I play Splinterlands and I don't play Magic the Gathering Arena. That's the deciding catalyst for me. Like I play physical Magic, but I'll never get into the virtual digital thing because no matter how much money I give them, it doesn't matter. I'll never be able to get anything out of it. Even if I decide to stop playing the game, it's just money burned. With Splinterlands, I don't look at it like an investment, but the byproduct of tokenomics and scarcity, supply, demand, utility, it just so happens to be that.
Well, you can look at it however you want. We don't like to say it's an investment. But I do think that you get to own something where it's not gone. Splinterlands is entertainment, but it's not entertainment in the sense of a movie where you go to a movie, you buy your popcorn, you eat the popcorn, you watch the movie, you leave, and then you have nothing. Here, you buy a Lord of Darkness, you own a Lord of Darkness, you fight with your Lord of Darkness, you earn with your Lord of Darkness. Or lease it, and when you're done, you can sell your Lord of Darkness. And so, this is a place where it's much more akin to staking than it is to spending. And I think that's an extremely powerful difference that I think keeps a lot of our players here. And I think will ultimately become, as it continues to grow, a one-way valve in gaming. Mm-hmm. How the hell are you going to go spend $500 in some other game when you know that if you could play something similar but get to keep the $500? You have to spend the fiat to get the thing that you want, but then once you have the thing, you actually own it, can trade it and get crypto for it later, or be able to sell it back to dollars if you happen to trust the guy that you're trading with.
This is going to be a bigger topic of conversation, I believe, next year, 2021, as a lot of people are now starting to purchase the PlayStation 5 and the new Xbox that are strictly digital, so there is no disk drive. You can't insert a physical disk, but a lot of people have already had this issue, and a lot more are going to run into it that are not predicting this. There is zero hindsight. But the people that are going to be buying virtual games, and they're not going to be able to take that virtual download to a GameStop when they're done playing it. And they're going to want the title or the keys to that, NBA 21 or whatever, and they're not going to be able to sell Grand Theft Auto 25 because it was a download and their PlayStation doesn't give them that ability to transfer digital assets. This is going to be a huge catalyst for, I think, the gamer economy to move from centralized to decentralized. And to add on top of that, what we've seen Fortnite do with Epic Game, they voluntarily just abandoned Apple and Google and said, bye. I think we're going to see a lot of these games realize the benefits of being a DApp rather than being an app.
Yep. And not only that, but you can take these things into different genres. So like we have Mimosa Nightshade. So she's a sorceress in this game. Well, she could go be a crafter in our next expansion. She could go be, in 2021, I bet we're going to be working on a tactics game. I don't know if you know Final Fantasy Tactics, but it's a turn-based strategy game.
Tell me the art style is in mind, like the same virtual art style is in mind with Division, because that would be sick.
So I don't know exactly what you're envisioning, but yeah, I think that it will look like a tactics game, and you'll have all of your characters that can move around in a tactics game. You know, we can keep adding.
I'm thinking, I guess, Warcraft or whatever, right? Like Tiberian Sun or something like that.
So that's an even different type of game. So like Warcraft is going to be like a real-time strategy game, and you can have a Mimosa that moves around and you click and she wanders around. You know, as we're talking about this whole thing, you know, that one character can now live across multiple ecosystems. And so like if I'm looking 5 or 10 years down the road, there's going to be like a Nintendo style thing that features like a list of different Splinterlands games that cover these different genres, where you can you own the character, which will give you the right to use that character in all these different games. And so, you know, who knows what you'll be trading, but you know, you'll be harvesting resources in one and spending them in another, and you know, crafting something here and burning something there, and you know, shooting something here. Some of that might be a consumable, some of it might be, you know, a permanent item, but all these different game economies can be linked. And that's a kind of vision and dream that Matt and I are working towards, of how do we build not just a single game, but a platform for game? How do we keep finding new utility for the same character? So like when you get to the fantasy world, maybe you can fight with Mimosa, but what else could we make Mimosa do in this other world or this other game where you have to basically stake that character into them? And that way there's always constantly more pressure on the same cards to do more things, but there's only one of the card and there's 50 different things you can be doing with it. There's not enough for everybody. And by the way, they've all been condensed down. There's not enough cards for everyone, and there's not enough spots for the mimosas to work everywhere. You know, this is the kind of scarcity that we have to induce in the economics to keep driving. Why do people want to purchase these cards? What do they want to do? What is the entertainment? How do we find the value? And by constantly finding new utility and new use cases, you know, each person can do what they want that's fun for them in their style of game. But that also removes that card from the market and the circulation, meaning that there's constant pressure on who gets access, how do they get access, and you know, maybe they have to rent if they want specific cards, but that keeps putting pressure on why people want to own and hold these things.
I like that you emphasized earlier the fact that it's more of an entertainment project than not, and what you're doing echoes that in the sense that you're doing what a lot of projects strive for, from Hollywood to video games to X, Y, and Z, is you're building out a multiverse, a multiple way to engage with one thing in a opt-in or opt-out environment where I could do the battle or do the land or do X. I could just be a market maker or whatever. You know, there's a lot of different roles, to the point that it's starting to even overflow into the real world, to where, like, again, it's kind of like LARPing. Like live action role playing within Splinterlands. Like, oh, I'm a battler. Oh yeah, well, I'm a land real estate owner. I'm a forger. I'm a market maker. Like, there's these roles that we are playing in a game that now has tokenomics that could bring the not just, and it's weird to say this, it bring the real world into the virtual. It's actually taking the virtual world out into the real world. It's a weird experience when I try to explain it to people that have no clue what I'm talking about sometimes. But what you guys are doing with the multiverse concept is really game changing, and you guys are always like at the forefront of kind of setting the bar. So
Well, I think Matt and I really understand crypto, and we really understand our crypto audience. Because when I say these are the nerds that participate in these kinds of things, Matt and I are that same nerd. I'm not trying to make our players somebody different than we are. We're like that same gamer nerd that loves this kind of stuff and love crypto. And we keep thinking, what can we do to push value to players? What can we do to push utility for these cards? And just like what the players want, we want that same damn thing. We're cut from the same cloth. We want the most utility for our tokens. We want it to be as freely tradable as possible without any friction. How do we keep making all these things happen? And so for us, our next step is this land sale. Buy some land. Let's get your workers on the land. Let's give them utility where now they're crafting and harvesting and storing these goods so that you can make NFTs that you're the only one that mints them. I mean, that to me is just like the most powerful thing about this whole damn thing of like, we as a business have made millions of dollars by selling these cards, and we're turning around and we're looking at players and we're like, you mint it now.
I just visualized Etsy. It's basically like an Etsy store in Splinterlands that everyone's gonna have people are gonna have their own little Etsy shops in Discord and in Telegram talking about their goods and services that they provide inside Splinterlands.
Yeah.
I can see it.
You say that, but the whole idea was we want all these people to build their own businesses here, that build a business in Splinterlands, that your time is not just spent harvesting resources as some dumb grind, but that you could actually you improve your building, you get more efficient, you can outcompete, you can sell your Sparkstone for less than everybody else and keep operating, still have some to keep growing and making your items and all this other stuff.
This makes the players, I think, detrimental to the game. Right, like
what?
Seriously, the players, like you mentioned earlier, it does begin with the developers and stuff, but it then goes to the community for the success. I think
detrimental means bad. You mean that they're bad for the game?
No, well, not.
Oh,
I meant like
instrumental.
Instrumental. That's the word. I guess not detrimental, but like necessary to succeed almost. Right, like without the players, like. You can't, you know what I mean? Like the next level to this game is fully dependent on the players to do this role. It's not that you are going to step in or Splinterlands is going to do this. And that's why when I say detrimental, like that's why I mentioned the game theory part. Like if some whale wants to come in and buy all the plots and then do nothing with it, they could. I mean, it's not like impossible, so it's like the fact that, the people that are playing, they're going to feel more, I don't know what the word is really. Like, I don't want to say more invested because it comes off financial, but I mean it more in a invested emotional. Where like I feel like the success of Splinterlands is due to the success of my land sales or my market making or my my contributions. That's why I say detrimental. It's just like without the players, the game would die. That's why I mean detrimental.
It wouldn't even function, right? Like we're not supplying everything, right? That is literally the idea that how World of Warcraft has all these shops. Well, imagine they all go away, and then if you want those same services, the players have to provide it. Yep. That's the vision and the only way that you can do that is by owning this land. And if that goes according to plan, then the player is absolutely clutch. Like the whole wheels of this economy are not meant to revolve around what do me and Matt in this centralized business do. Right. It's meant to revolve around what are the players' choices? What are they building? What are they valuing? You should have a bunch of different.
It makes the game more decentralized, in my opinion. But I know that sentence can be a little with business in mind. It could definitely get the community up in arms. But it is making Splinterlands more decentralized than ever. Doing this.
Yeah, there's a couple different ways to decentralize, right? Like it's still run off of one centralized node. So the game is built on a blockchain, but it lives on a layer 2. We control this node so that we can keep doing hard forks and putting out new content. But how the economy works, like that phrase literally came up in the design of how do we decentralize the benefits of printing these cards. That was absolutely 100% intentional in the game of how do we, and normal games don't do this. They don't say, hey dude, we're so tired of making money from selling this stuff, we want you to do it. But in crypto, that's just like, that is our ethos. That is our plan. That is our goal. That is what we freaking do. How do we give more value to the players? And in this case, we said, well, let's go take the thing that's brought us millions of dollars and put that in the hands of players. And then let's build the system for how we can hand that off to them and gamify that so that it can be successful. So that's what we did. And I think, I'm staring here and I can see that we're 3 or 4 days from when the lottery's even going to start, and there's already 18 regions that have sold, and and that's before even the damn Uniswap pool has come in. I think that we are going to be way overbought on this, which is a great position for us to be in.
Is there ways to secondary sell the land? So you think people are going to come in and flip it?
I think some will. I think most of the guys that are in here already, because I can see who's buying. Actually, it's public. There's a link for that somewhere. It's the Splinterlands API for the land lottery. But the people that are doing this are like guilds and they're people, and I don't see as many accounts that I look at that and suspect, oh, they're just here to flip it. I think most guys are here to huddle this and play, but I don't know if that will be permanently true.
Yeah.
But the cards. So when we built Splinterlands, we built it on Hive, and there was just a whole bunch of infrastructure that was missing, and we had to keep building pieces. One piece we built was Steam Keychain at the time, which is now Hive Keychain, which is like a MetaMask replacement, so you don't have to put your private keys in everywhere. So now we have that. We had to build that. Another thing we had to go build was this site called Hive Engine, which is a project that I now run.
Top notch, by the way.
Oh, thank you. It's an exchange that lives on the layer 2 of the Hive blockchain, and you can make tokens and non-fungible tokens. I'm a little embarrassed to put this in here, but I recently released like a little mini idle mining game. It's less of like a massive undertaking and more of like a demonstration project of what this tool can do, because there's now mining contracts, and those mining contracts can be influenced by NFTs, and there can be governance. So by the end of December, I built the farming game. It's like a decentralized yield farming game. It's called farmfarmer.farm.
Farmfarmer.farm.
Yeah, I thought
FFF.
I thought that was pretty in the meta to just call it what it is. So you can go in and you can buy these tokens. You can stake the tokens, and you'll start earning. The NFTs will allow you to earn the farm token. If you stake the farm token, you get a farm governance token. And with that farm governance token, you can change how quickly or slowly the different NFTs are able to farm.
Ooh.
And that's the whole game, is that you buy them, but how powerful they are keeps changing. So you have to be careful with which ones you own and why you own them. And so like the gameplay is really stupid simple. You buy and you stake.
It's a yield farming video game. I mean,
it's a yield farming game, and it's an idle game. It's like super simple, but it's all off the shelf. These are all built using smart contracts that you can configure on Hive Engine. So that's my small plug at the end of nearly 2 hours of this. So this is a website, which is a smart contract platform, and it's because we were missing this on Hive. Because we're built on Hive and we wanted things to be on Hive, we were missing this ability to transact. So like we have our dark energy crystals. Where do you buy and sell them? You go to Hive Engine. We have these.
I go peer to peer, just for anybody asking, just send me a DM. I'll buy your dark energy crystal, or I might have to buy some off you if you're looking to sell. Either way, DM me.
Yeah. So, but we can do that for pack tokens. So like we sold out of pack tokens on the site, but you can still buy them on Hive Engine.
Right. So you can get the alpha packs that are no longer available on Splinterlands.com on the Hive Engine exchange, which I have, by the way. And I have a thing where I've minimum 5 packs tokenized that I plan on holding for either life or giving to my nephew when he's old enough to appreciate the nostalgic sentiment of opening it.
Lad, these packs will be yours.
If you're lucky.
So,
but yeah, I wanted to jump into one thing before I forget, because this was definitely, I don't write down questions, so I have to spitball when I have it pop in. But tokenomics, tokenization, everything in the game is very tradable, transferable, and like the packs are even tokenizable to the point to where I could tokenize the pack and sell it on an exchange or list it or transfer it to a friend. When the consumables, like the potions and spells and things like that, will I be able to tokenize some of my legendary potions and put them up on a secondary market, or transfer some of my legendary potions to a friend who may not have them already? I'm just curious, when will we see these things tokenized?
I don't think potions are going to be transferable that way. But to answer your earlier question, the lands are probably what's next. So that when you buy, what you're buying now when you buy land is a claim on a plot. You don't own a specific plot yet, but there will be a map, and later on you'll be able to say, I own G7. That's my plot. It is a hill, and it has these resources on it. And knowing that, I built this building on it. And so you can get that specific with this is the plan. And
so you get deeds, basically, like deeds to the land.
They're digital deeds. But that's honestly, that's what NFTs are. They're just digital deeds.
Do the digital deed.
This one is intentionally for land, though. So it's like the most real deed you can get for a virtual place is that it's actually about land. But when you reveal the land, it then becomes an NFT.
Okay.
NFT will trade on the Splinterlands.com site. Before you turn this into a claimable piece of land, when it's still an unrevealed pack token, like an unrevealed land, the unknown plot, that is going to be part of your, that will live on Hive Engine. So what people are buying are individual plots, tracks, which are 100 contiguous plots, or regions, which are 1,000 contiguous plots. All 3 of those tokens are just fungible tokens that'll trade on Hive Engine up until we say, here's the land, you can go redeem it.
That's going to be really interesting to see the secondary gamification of those markets, where I think you're right. There's probably, and this is very rare, bro, very rare that I will ever say this, but I don't think you're going to see a majority of scalpers. Every other NFT project that I come across, 70% scalpers, maybe 30% actual enthusiast end users when things like this happen. You have it pretty much the other way around. It's going to be a majority of the actual dedicated, already involved community, and then maybe you'll have some scalpers come in that just want to buy and resell, and I think they'll come for the scalping and stay for the tokenomics. They're going to realize, I can flip land, and then, I can flip cards and lease cards, and I think it's going to be interesting to turn scalpers into players.
So I know who's buying this. Neil McSpadden is one of our top whales. Crypto Vaults, I think, is representing a guild. Tough Cat is like a multi-year player. He's representing either himself or a guild. Moriarty is another guy that's been here forever. Neoxian or Neozion, he's been part of the Steam community for like 4 or 5 years now. Michael B, same thing. Tame Sean, he's relatively new to the game, but he's like in there talking and buying. Azir Khan is another one. He's a little bit newer to the ecosystem, but he's part of the Hive community. He's been around here. Cryptomancer he's one of the game developers that's part of the team. He bought one. So just as I'm like scrolling through some of the names that are buying these, I recognize all of them from our own Discord and our own community.
Respect.
So as of right now, I can tell you that 100% of who's buying these regions are like insiders to the game.
That's so
not like
amazing.
insiders to like the company, but just like those people that are already here, have been here for like 2 years for the most part, know about us, know about what we're doing, read the papers and say, damn it, I'm getting this land. And I don't see anybody on here. I see Matt Clark. Matt Clark is one of like our best advocates. He's another one of our top whales.
Look, if I had 7,500, I would have FOMO'd so hard into this. I ain't lying. I'm really not, because I truly do believe in the potential and the success of this. And it's just, that's why I was talking about sharding. I was already talking to people like, hey, let's pull some money together and grab one of these while we can. And we could divvy it up, later amongst ourselves, what resources we get or how we move forward with our region.
That's why we did the regions that have 1,000 plots. So like a region could be a single region token that until you redeem it is actually just one token that represents 1,000 different plots. You can buy this in 10 tracks, and you could actually buy them at 1,000 different regions, or 1,000 different plots in one buy. And we did it that way because we knew that there's a lot of pools that are coming together. Some of them are guilds where they're like, all right, this portion of the guild is going to buy one track each. We got 10 players out of our 30, and we might even see like 3 regions being bought out of a single guild. In other groups, we're seeing typically more out of like minnow populations where they're like cobbling together 20 plots here and 40 plots there and 10 plots here, and they're building that out into a full region by doing this big pool, because in the pools you get an additional 25% discount. So folks want to come in, and to get the best discount, you have to start by working together to get up enough money. I mean, maybe you're a whale and you just say, oh, it's $7,500, who cares, and buy it. But for the rest of humanity, they work together and they cobble together $100 here and there, and they say, all right, let's get some land.
I ain't gonna lie, at first when I saw the price, I was a little bit upset. I was like, damn it, bro. Like, they're really trying to keep me out of this, right? Like, people like, and then as I kind of thought on it longer, I'm like, actually, damn, they're actually making me build a community so I can get involved in this. It's incentivizing to be more involved in the game, actually. Yes. And I think it does incentivize more community ownership to the regions. And I think that's why I wanted to emphasize early on when we were talking about having like a whale come in. I think it's going to be more groups than it is individuals. And that, I think, is an amazing game theory that I know you knew that's what was going to happen. I know you guys weren't like 27 individual whales are going to, no, but 27 groups of people are going to become more, I think, more closer together than ever from this. Like a guild is one thing, but this is
they're going to form nation states.
Yes.
That's what they're doing.
From a guild to a nation, bro. From guild to nation. And I think it can grow more and more too on top of that.
Well, now I've been thinking about like what's above region. There's some kind of like, county is the wrong word, but that's the kind of thing where like maybe it is state. You can get like 8 different regions into a state, and there's some benefit to partnering at all these different levels. And so we still got to design some of these things, but
I can see some colluding and people making their regions to states and from states to small countries.
So it's been in my brain that David Pakman is like a uber progressive political commentator, and he invited me onto his show because he was new to Steam and I was a witness on Steam, and he was talking to us, and we were talking about kind of like politics in general, and my politics are something like, I don't like the way that current governments operate because there's way too much force, way too much coercion, and you're forced into that system at birth rather than choosing it. So, but I also don't like the idea that, if some person really wants like a ton of government, who am I to tell them, no, that should be their choice, not mine? That the challenge to me is that people don't have enough choice with how they want their government to interact with them. And some people could say, screw government, I want nothing to do with it. And some people should be able to say, well, I want a lot of government because I'd like somebody else to take care of all these services that I'm not interested in doing. And that entire spectrum should be allowed. And so in my vision of what these kind of lands will do, well, I don't know the full extent, but it's kind of my vision that it's kind of like choosing insurance. You're going to go through and look at like what are the benefits, what are the costs, and what matches my personality, my style, my needs, my wants. Maybe you want something that is like a really high tax but provides all these benefits. Maybe you want something that's a really low tax but doesn't provide any benefits. Maybe you want something in between. But I want it so that the players can kind of determine what's happening in their own regions, and there's benefits for interacting well. And I'm envisioning buildings where, like, if you have certain buildings in your region, they help everybody. And so it's kind of like the monuments or the wonders of the world in Civ, where like, if you own the garden, I forget what this is, but one of the early ones, every field starts producing one more food, like that. The math is a little bit different, but the idea would be like everybody in the region, if you get this one building, starts getting a benefit. And so now you're encouraging all of the players to kind of come together to go build that sort of thing so that they can have advantages over all the other regions that don't have it, so that they're more productive, it's less expensive, more efficient, and all those other things.
Dude, it sounds like these are we need more words. I cannot say it enough that we have not designed enough vernaculars to express what's happening right now in this space, man. Like, because what you're doing, to me, it sounds like a smart NFT. An NFT that uses smart contracts with if this, then that protocols. And that's mind-boggling that I have this NFT and it's going to mint another NFT that has another specific job. Like, the NFT is so smart. And that's why I want to call it a smart NFT, because I call things utility NFTs or non-utility NFTs. And now we're going to have these smart NFTs that are like smart contract written to the point that they aren't just on a smart contract, they are the smart contract.
Well, just wait until we add governance to all of this stuff too. So like going back to farmfarmer.farm for a moment, that prototype to me is also kind of like an experimental playground.
Right.
For it's not some multi-million-dollar thing that like is feeding 10 families or something and has thousands of players. It's like a little it's a sand pit that I can go mess around in and be able to create some things and maybe have them fail, maybe have them work, but it's a sandbox for me. And so in that space, you buy an NFT. And there's a mining contract, and all the different NFTs have their different rates at which they mine. And then there's a governance contract that can then alter that, how quickly they mine. And so this is really like my personal first taste at governance and how we can incorporate that. And there's another game on Hive that already does this, and it's D-City. And so D-City has governance aspects built in well before Splinterlands and well before I got to it. But I'm trying to, what they've done with their own server and app, I'm trying to do at the smart contract level so that everybody can start integrating these things. And Gerber's part of the team. He's the guy that leads that project. He's like an advisor to Hive Engine. So I've definitely looked at some of what they're doing to try to think through, what does a governance contract do? And then if I really want to cook your noodle, I start thinking about the games that have more than one governance contract. And so now it's, if you buy this and earn that, you farm that, which has a governance contract that can impact these things, but only those things. Now, if you want, you can also buy this, which farms that, which gets you this, which turns into a governance contract, which allows you to edit those things.
You know what's funny? The multiple governance concept prevents, and I was going to mention this before you said that too, governance turning into governments. Because when you have a decentralization of governance, people and history has shown, come to a consensus for governments. We see self-governing turn into centralized governmenting all the time. We're living in one. So it would be interesting to see how a tokenized decentralized governance could avoid or fall to an opt-in of consensus desired governments, right? Like you said, some people want governments and they don't want to do. I think it would be cool to see this, what we are living in the real world, play out politically in that sandbox, and watch how because it's an exponential petri dish. What happens virtually is a 10x incubator to what's happening in the real world. So to see like this gamified governance model being, gamified, I think it has real world applications from like proof of concept or catalyst, or the data that could come out of something like this. I think would be really interesting to apply to real politics outside of virtual governance.
So that's super savvy. I don't think most people catch that, but
I fuck people up all the time when I sober up and start to get smart.
So I completely agree with you. What I think ends up happening is that politics is way downstream of culture, and that once you have influenced culture, it becomes a lot easier to influence politics. And so if you really want to change the world, you actually don't change politics directly, because you can't have enough of an effect, because those things ultimately start further upstream with culture. So if we can impact the culture around what does it look like to choose a government? Like, who the hell has ever thought that? Or like, no, you're born in the United States, that's your damn government, you worship this flag, this is how it works, son. Well, maybe we can question that a little, at least just in this theoretical world. What if you could choose your own government and government style? How would that work out? How would that play out? Well, you have fixed lands. So how do fixed lands work within these systems that have governance of different types? I mean, that's all part of the things that we got to work out.
And living governments, right? Constantly evolving or forking or diverting back to another. Yeah.
We're forking off. Agronia is forking off.
Well, I mean, people keep memeing the fact that Texas will eventually fork by seceding from the government. Nice. And when I hear the word secede, now I immediately think of a governmental fork. I can't avoid it.
I hadn't thought about what's it going to look like if Agronia wants to fork off of Pretoria.
Right.
So this is in my brain. Thank you, Ken.
But no, I mean, all it does is, I guess, it creates more of that multiverse, which is, again, part of the fundamentals of the beginnings of it anyway. So it's just gamifying the game even more. It's not a bug, it's a feature.
Yeah, I think the trick is being able to figure out, like, in crypto, it's always the option of screw you guys, I'm taking my ball and I'm going home. If you're not going to play nice, I'm not going to play here. And oh, by the way, your code is open source, so I'm going to create the same damn thing somewhere else and do it with other people.
Yep.
So I don't quite know what that looks like for Pretoria, but in my brain, I'll take this conversation with me in my design experience as I start thinking through. How do we build this concept of government? And is there a way that we can do this concept of government in a way that working together with other people creates exclusive, beneficial relationships as opposed to parasitic ones?
Right.
Now, that's important for the game. To me personally, I would want to make them be like as parasitic as you want and make it really like a horrible taxation socialist shithole so that you could like really harm other people. That to me is maximum game exposure and differences. But we as a game and as a business, I have to try to prevent total horrible styles of that coming through that might make people leave.
Right. There's a symbiosis to parasitic balance you have to ride very carefully.
Yeah, I mean,
Clove71, thanks for becoming a bro. I just got a member. Hi, thank you, Clove.
So I don't know. There's somewhere in here is the right balance of choice and physical reality and options and forking off and governance and changing things that you don't like by using your stake. and we have to figure out how to give options for that. And I'm fortunate to be able to go explore some of this through farmfarmer.farm and other little mini games that I'll put out that kind of explore these concepts in these sandbox environments before I have to actually implement them in something as big or as serious as Splinterlands. Because the consequences here are like millions and millions of dollars to lots of players. I mean, like the card market cap for the secondary market of cards it's between $5 and $6 million right now. So making important decisions about how other people get, like what decisions they can and can't make, that's pretty critical. So figuring out, how do we sandbox this some? How do we make good decisions, and how do we give enough room to players so that good teamwork is rewarded, but bad teamwork might not be beneficial, but doesn't feel like devastatingly bad. So you're like, screw this, I'm leaving the game. Like that's kind of the line. I want people you can be a little annoyed. Sometimes people get very annoyed with me and with the decisions that we make, but ultimately it's, making sure that there's a space for that, maybe some not great experiences, but ultimately good teamwork, good coordination, good unison and resource spending by teams of people should be able to outcompete those that are unwilling to do it. And that's kind of the mentality of how I want these lands to function.
Well, it's, I guess to wrap things up, because I have to at this point, or I will literally keep you here all day. I love talking to you, Barrow. It's such a pleasure, an honor even. People don't understand how much you have done for the crypto space, you and Matt. So, seriously, I really appreciate all that you have done and the time you took to talk to me today.
Everybody knows Ken.
Yeah, but
everybody knows you, man. Everybody that's out there.
My contribution is just like, I like to talk about things that people do, and like you're the people that do the things I like to talk about. So this is like such a win for me.
It's symbiotic, Ken, because like
True.
we need people to be talking about us so that we can focus on building. It's the like do what you do best and trade for the rest. We're
right.
really good at building shit. We're gonna keep building things, but that means that we need people to help be a mouthpiece for us. Ideally not for like thousands and thousands of dollars, but just people to say like, hey, this shit's cool, come check it out.
And that's why I do my daily stream, because it is cool. And it, I tell people like, you're awesome. You hook me up with cards, and thank you for the super chat, by the way. Clove sent me a $5 super chat. Thank you so much. But like, I live stream as often as I can on like, I try to do it every day. But it's not because Splinterlands pays me. People, you have no idea how many times people think that is paid, and little people know that I stole it from a meetup that you were at. So, like, this is genuinely out of love, right? And I can't hold that back. And I think more people will eventually get to my place of, like, appreciation and admiration for what yous are doing as they learn more about it. There is just so much happening in this space. It's just a spam of information. And again, unfortunately, these, the games that do ICO and do pop up the pump and dump and rug pull, they don't mind spending that, thousands of dollars to get the influencers' attention. But I do know that their attention is inevitably yours to have with the success that you keep having. So just keep grinding. And I know that I'll see more and more people, mentioning what you guys are doing just because they cannot avoid it. It's too, like, I thought that the liquidity pool Uniswap thing would have been a lot bigger of a story, but people just don't appreciate legacy anymore. They just want the newest hype train I'm not going to write an article about a game that's been around for years when I could write an article about a game that just popped up last week. It's going to get more impressions, and that's the deciding factor for a lot of people that do content and influence and shit. But I think, wrapping things up, the fact that you're gamifying, land in a way that I personally think could be applied to real world. Like, again, you consider this an entertainment outlet, and it is. And entertainment has influenced culture to influence politics and governments since the beginning of entertainment. It is the purpose of art and entertainment is to influence culture. Maybe not with an agenda, but subconsciously it does influence culture. And I think what Splinterlands is doing is going to influence our culture with like years of influence. Like you guys are going to be a catalyst of proof of concept, a standard to follow. Like, I mean, it sucks to say this because it definitely doesn't give you the credit you deserve, but Splinterlands is to blockchain gaming as Pong is to legacy gaming. Like, it's like you guys are gonna have like that what made gaming on Netflix special kind of shit, because you guys have that legacy and you've put in that work, and I just know that, you know, it's inevitable, bro. So like, again, thank you. I wish you all nothing but success with the team and the land sale. You have my faith and complete, you know, support for life, because I love the game and I love the team. So it's double love. Anything that you want to make sure we mention, touch topic wise, let people know what's up before we wrap things up?
Well, mostly just thank you. Like, it's great to have that support and kindness and belief. I mean, if you believe in crypto and think that should grow, then great. And, you know, I will say I have an agenda. My personal agenda is to spread peace, abundance, and liberty. Those are what I'm trying to bake into this game and this culture and this ecosystem, and then trying to figure out ways that we can all be incentivized to trade with each other and interact with each other peacefully, voluntarily, and in ways that don't evoke murder, but actual kindness and business relationships.
Unless
And
it's on the
hopefully-
Splinterlands battlefield, and then I will
Yeah, well,
murder
yeah,
all of
yeah.
you,
Fair enough.
especially you,
Fair enough.
Byzantine.
Yeah, get him. That guy gets a lot of tournament winnings.
Fuck that dude, all right, bro, straight up. Fuck you, Byzantine. One day, bro. I mean, he's my red. You know, like, I don't know if you're a Pokemon fanatic like me, but like, red was like the default bad guy in Pokemon. So Byzantine is my red. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. If you guys are watching this right now, go ahead and do the whole like and share, comment your opinions and thoughts and all that stuff. Go ahead and check out splinterlands.com and start playing today. I still have some of these, and I wanted to see, like, I haven't used these on purpose, but I have some of these promo cards still, but I wanted to collect them for life. So I got these. Look at
Nice.
that.
Yeah.
But I have a
So-
couple with codes on it still, but they haven't been swept. But I have one of each. These are I literally have digital Pokemon cards from my nephew. But I got like one of each of the physical cards. So are these promo codes on the bottom still redeemable?
Yeah.
All right, cool. If you guys don't have a booster pack, I'll give 10 of them away. So if there's 10 people that haven't had a chance to start playing Splinterlands, go ahead and let me know that you need a booster pack code in the comments below, and I'll reach out to you.
Hold on, Brozak. What I'm going to do, I'm going to give you, so you can keep the physical ones, because the physical ones are pretty cool.
Yeah, they are. I keep them
you-
in this awesome sock. This is my sock of Splinterlands cards.
Okay. And your account is KENNBOSAK?
Kenneth
Right.
Bozak
Ah,
on Splinterlands.
KENNETH?
Yep, Kenneth Bozak.
All right. So I'm generating 10 promo cards or 10 promo codes, and I'm DMing you in Discord. And those are actually already tied to your account. So when you do, if anybody accepts those and you're doing referrals, it's already tied to your Ken Bozak account or Kenneth Bozak account. So like if you gave them the paper promo card, you know, they could sign in for free, but they wouldn't count as your referral. If you
Oh,
give
this
them
is
one of these
epic.
codes, that'll show up as a Kenneth Bozak referral, and if they choose to buy boosters or something, that you'll actually get paid for that.
How do I get 100 of these Splinterlands promo card business cards so I could have physical cards to hand people with those codes on it?
You would
Ken
Talk
will
to
buy. Ken will buy.
to-
Reseller.
talk to reseller.
Reseller, I am hopping in your DMs right after this because I will buy some business cards that have a Splinterlands,
Referral code.
referral code on it so they could get a free booster pack and I could get 5% after that for life.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, bro. All right, man. Thank you, Aggie. Again, give Matt my love, bro, when you talk to him. And as always, guys, I'll see you in a few hours because I do my daily Splinterlands quest live. And the only reason I do it live is because I do it anyway. I'm going to do my daily quest regardless might as well live stream it. So that's what I do.
Double dip.
Yeah, exactly. And then I posted, but then I posted on Hive, and then I earn Hive, and then I triple dip, and then I can take that and post it on. It's just the dips keep adding up, bro. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Welcome to crypto. It's awesome.
Right on, man. All right, guys. As always, have a day.
That was fun, guys. I didn't expect us to go 2 hours and 15 minutes, but worth every minute. I hope you know I threw off somebody this was fun. I like this.